Before we start the generative structural analysis workbench, you have to have a part to analyze. So we're going to start in the part design workbench, and then here I'm going to go to tools options and change our units. And I'm just going to change the mass to be a pound, and I'm going to change volume to be inches, feet cubed, and let's change the density to pound per cubic inch. And if you want, you can continue to follow along and change your units so that you can match the lesson. If not, you can just follow the techniques in applying, creating this cantilever beam that we're going to create in the part design workbench, and then we're going to switch over to the generative structural analysis workbench and start creating some restraints, and then you'll create a force, and then we'll compute this analysis. And we'll also show you some of the other objectives you could learn from this is where to store your results. You can view and evaluate the analysis using some of the image and analysis toolbars. You can also animate the forces that are being applied and see the part moving as a force is being applied. And you'll be able to adjust the color palette. You can incorporate the knowledge advisor into the analysis. For instance, if you wanted the workbench to tell you when you've exceeded the yield strength, you could have a information pop-up screen that says, hey, you've exceeded the yield strength. And you can also generate a report from the workbench, and we'll go over most of these objectives in the lesson. We won't use all the toolbars, but we'll be able to use some of them just to give you a feel for what this workbench can do for you. And then you can go in on your own and learn the different toolbars. First, I'm going to go and rename part 1, and I'm going to go to product tab and type in beam and hit OK. So now my part is the beam. Now I'm going to go into the Sketcher workbench using the YZ plane, and I'm just going to create a rectangle and then create constraints using the V vector in the left side, and I'm going to type in 1.75 inches, and so it constrains it there, and I'm going to do the same for the right side of the beam. Double click on the constraint and type in, well, if I can type, I'd type in 1.75 inches. And then here I'm going to create a constraint with a height above the H vector of 3.625 inches. Do the same thing with the bottom. Make sure, I'm going to select the bottom one first. Make sure you select the H vector. Type in 3.625 inches, hit enter or OK. Now we're going to exit out of the sketch workbench, and we're going to select the pad tool and type in a length of 72 inches, hit OK. Reframe that or fit it all into the workbench. And we're now going to apply a material. So select the material icon and go to Metal tab and select Aluminum, and this applies aluminum to this part body or to this beam. And if you go to right click on aluminum and go to properties, you have the properties of the aluminum. And if we go to Analysis tab, it will show us the structural properties such as the Young's modulus, Poisson ratio, the density, the thermal expansion, and the yield strength. And you can change these to fit the properties that you want aluminum to have. So if you wanted the yield strength to be a little bit less, say you had a different properties, different type of aluminum, you could type that in there. Now if I go to View, Render Style, we can change so that we see what type of material, and that's been covered in other lessons. Now I'm going to save this as beam file, and it's saved